Hello, my name is Jasmine Lee, and I am not your mama's astrologer. Welcome to the week. Last week was that kind of weird in-between realm where we got to dance with integration and what's been up and try to adjust to this Venus retrograde that's going to be here for a while. So what have you been noticing? It doesn't always have to affect you super interpersonally, though I can't imagine it isn't. We've talked a lot about Venus retrograde, but what it means so much on this day-to-day life is how we're relating, how we're loving, how we're seeking beauty, harmony, or resisting it, as it were. I don't know which one you are, but I do know that I have seen that relating to people lately has been a lot harder. Finding common ground, finding pathways that feel good, feeling unstuck in what is all of the relationship roles you put yourself into, I put myself into. This pretty little adorned box of my own creation. We all do it. We all have these preconceived notions that were based on old stories that keep us perpetuating the same life event cycle over and over again. What I like about Venus retrograde, what I do like about these periods of time is that it becomes so obvious what isn't working. It becomes so obvious what is outdated. It becomes so glaringly real when you can look outside and see the first few days of sunshine and still feel the storm clouds inside. It's very indicative of what it is, what darkness inside of us we're trying to heal, bring light to, and move through. And that can be really challenging, especially when everybody else is having a Venus retrograde. You're not special. I'm not special. We all have to go through it together. So our spouses, our partners, our children, our family members, our coworkers, our friends are all going through their own iteration of what it is they need to be doing, want to be doing differently, and how they're doing relationships, in how they're doing that yin, softer energy. And it's been particularly rough because of that Mars retrograde that happened before. So our warrior, masculine energy got very dysregulated. And now as he's come back to go forward, no longer in retrograde, still though in Cancer, which is the moon, which is the mother energy, so still in a feminine sign, now Venus is retrograde, like really challenging what peace and war actually look like. We have these ideations of history because we weren't a part of certain parts of history. And it's such a wild trip to understand and imagine that we are creating history right now. And that I don't think the people that came before us that were creating history in their time really processed it as such. And so what would happen if we all processed what we were going through as something that our great-great-great-grandchildren are gonna hear about? What would we think of what our history books, writing vibes are right now? I don't know. That's the truth. The God's honest truth is I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like there is so much love for us here, that being in a human body, being in this human experience is such a vast, complex system of mistakes and triumphs and failures and beauty that having it swirl all around us all the time can be quite overwhelming. But understanding that we are a part of the history we're making, we just aren't aware of it, is really vibey, because I think of the Depression, I think of world wars, I think of how very acute our times have been and can be. And I try to sit with what is acute currently in our reality. And that's where Venus retrograde wants to come and harmonize and heal inside of us. These stories that we tell ourselves in the middle of the night when nobody's listening, not even ourselves, because we are dreaming. Our subconscious is holding the weight of our future history. our cells are holding the weight of our ancestors' past. And how on earth are we supposed to stay present for everything going on around us all the time when there is all of that inside of us? And the answer is, I don't know. But what I do love is that astrology comes to make us ask those questions so that we can find those answers maybe different this time. There is the old adage that history repeats itself, but what if we didn't need it to do that? What would change? They're big questions, and that's kind of your weird homework this week, is asking yourself some of the bigger questions about yourself, about this world, about this history that we're all co-creating, and the personal history that we are abiding by as we continue with our life story. What stories about yourself are ready to become different stories? Because the truth is, things aren't going to change in our lives if we keep, submitting the same paperwork, if we keep acquiescing to the same life story, life goals. Our life goals and stories need to change. And so what can you rewrite today? What can you rewrite this week? What can you ponder changing that could change everything? And we don't need to go so far out. We don't need to make really big ideations about it. We can keep it real simple and say, well, I really want to change how I wake up in the morning. Or I really want to change this one part about my relationship that feels stuck. I really want to learn something new. And this is the thing that's been burning inside of me. I have been ending my days with like weird little jokes that come into my head and that I want to tell them. And I don't necessarily want to be a comedian, but I do want to tell them. And so my partner gets to hear all of my nighttime jokes. Like, for instance, I am the kind of person that doesn't just brush with Colgate. I also brush my teeth with really hippie toothpaste, like the charcoal toothpaste that's supposed to like get whatever it is that we're trying to get out of our teeth out in like a healthy way. But I'm still kind of afraid of the dentist. So the dentist tells me to brush with fluoride and I don't want cavities. And so sometimes I do that. But then I'm also like afraid of what that medicine is. And so then I take the hippie stuff to try to combat against that. And then who am I? That's my joke for you. I don't know who I am because my toothpaste probably shouldn't be dictating who I am. And this is a really good example of this Venus retrograde. Could I pick a lane? I don't know. I don't know if I could, you guys. I'm really attached to this very bold and brazen toothpaste habit that I have, and I am bringing it to light and to surface for you, not only hopefully to make you smile, but also to make you realize that like we're all such weird dirtbags. I am the biggest of them all, and I totally wear that as a gold necklace around my décolleté. But I will say that these are just some weird inklings that come into my head, and do they matter? No, not necessarily. Is it going to change my life? Probably not. But does it bring a layer of creativity, lightness, sparking ideas? Because the point of that really ridiculous joke, and to tell you, is that we don't need to make these changes that like change everything. Though surely in a Venus retrograde with Mercury retrograde on the horizon, you surely will. But you don't have to do that big work. The universe and our souls and our bodies and our circumstances do that for us. When we do these little things to stay generative and creative, when I'm brushing my teeth and I chortle to myself this new joke that then I have to go tell my partner Dustin, and I hope he likes it. Sometimes I'm probably pretty annoying before bed, but that it's important for me to say it because it was generative, because it made me giggle, because it created energy. And that is the homework assignment. How can you create different energy in your life right now? Because so much hurts right now, because there's so much dissension, because there's so much politics, because there's so much humaning and adulting and bullshit going on that one must write the toothpaste jokes or bake the muffins. I don't know what it is for you that makes you get into a softer space, but that's what Venus wants us to review, is how do we get soft? How do we find our vulnerability again? How do we put down our weapons and they're not just literal weapons. It's our metaphorical fight or flight that is always activated in us in this culture. How do we de-escalate? I love The Witches of Eastwick because in that movie, when they were falling, she screamed, laugh, laugh, that we laugh at the darkness, we laugh at the peril, we laugh in the face of danger so that we can de-escalate it, dispel it, and disperse the energy into something light. And that is the goal in this very tricky month, you guys. March is the biggest astrological month of the year. Why, you might ask? Well, there's a lot going on. The biggest thing is it kicks off eclipse season. Our first eclipse is this week. It is on Thursday. It is a lunar eclipse and it is in Virgo. So it is about things that we need to let go. A lunar eclipse is things we're letting go of. Virgo is the details, the perfectionism, the idealization of busy, the pedestals that we put each other and ourselves on. We're needing to let this go. And listen, that's not an easy thing. We aren't really willing to let go of our own standards. But sometimes you have to in order to reevaluate them and re-standardize them for yourselves. But first, Wednesday, we have a Saturn cazimi. And I don't know if you remember what a cazimi means. It is my favorite word in astrology. But a cazimi is where that planet is being enlightened by the sun. They are right on top of each other. So the sun in Pisces is highlighting Saturn in Pisces. And that's vibes, you guys, because Pisces rules our spidey senses, our gut instincts, the other world, our subconscious. And Saturn is here being lit up to show us our subconscious, bring it to the conscious, and show us where the work is. So be ready, be willing, maybe even be a little excited about what it is that is singing inside of you right now, because there is this deep, deep lesson that we're all learning about our own spirits. And this week we're getting all of this big astrology, this full moon lunar eclipse and this Saturn cazimi to give us the work, to say, here you go. Here is the work. It is not easy, but it is your work. And so when things are hard this week, or when you need to pivot, or when there's an opportunity for shifting, I want you to take it. And I want you to bear the weight different. Because you can't just put it all on your shoulders. You must disperse it. You must do chair pose equal parts as arm poses. When you're doing any kind of body exercise, you need to feel it all the way through, not in just one part of your body. If we're always just using our right hands and we're right hand dominant, then what happens to the left side of our system? We're wanting to cross all of the axes. And where we're stuck, where we stop ourselves, is what is going to be indicated this week. So keep your eyes open. What's stuck? What isn't working? What is the lesson of your life right now? Because it changes, doesn't it? Our lives teach us different things. Our different circumstances, our different iterations open us up and show us different versions of ourselves. And they're not always pretty and they're not always easy. This month is not the easy month. It's not the month to say, everything's going to work out for me. It is, but this is the working month of it. If whatever you want, you got to work for it. And so this is the work. So pay attention. And your homework is to notice what the work is, because it's going to be different from person to person. For me, it's definitely how I'm balancing my work-home life balance. I have been working under a very severe cloud of overwhelm. And I'm not and can't do everything, especially to perfection, which is what this lunar eclipse full moon is saying, is that nothing is perfect, not even you. Not even me. And that, there needs to be room to rest and to work, room to understand and to not know. You need to be in paradox, curiously. So then Friday we get the sun sextiling Uranus. And so we're ready. We're ready. We're making this positive aspect to big changes, and we start to feel exalted, and then bam, Mercury goes retrograde. And I know you guys all know vaguely what Mercury retrograde is about. Technology systems fail. You know, it just is frustrating. Things take longer. My toilet is still not fixed. This is like week 2 going into 3. It is frustrating. Nothing goes to plan. And I kind of love this because with this lunar eclipse in Virgo, Virgo's also ruled by Mercury. And so Mercury's going retrograde to extra show us that nothing will be perfect this whole month. Okay, guys, like there is a releasing going on of the standard. There is a releasing of the need for it to stay the same. There is a desire to see benchmarks that are further and different than we thought they were. Sometimes we can surprise ourselves with what we really want when we don't put a standard to it. When we say, well, I want to be happy, that's too vague, guys. We all want to be happy. And listen, happiness is easy. And so that is why we want it, but also contentment, but also the joy of washing the dishes, right? Listen, I'll show you, to those of you who watch my podcasts, my laundry pile, and this is vulnerable. So don't judge me because I'm judging me enough. Oh my God, there it is. The devil on my shoulder. It's so vibes. Me and my laundry, we don't like each other. We don't get along, okay? I don't like it. I don't like doing it. I don't like folding it. And I need a new standard for how I judge myself about how much I loathe the laundry. What can I do about that? You know, I can adjust my tolerance level for dirty versus clean clothes. I can try to adjust my daily life and rituals that attune to my laundry a little bit better, different. I can, you know, maybe care a little bit more about my fashion. Venus might like that. I am a fashion victim of the worst kind. You know, I'm one of those people that I see the messy buns in others and I'm like, wow, homeless on me. Cool. That looks so disgusting. Like, I just feel like whatever the fashion trend is, when I try it, I look like the very most ridiculous version of it. But I still persist. And, you know, maybe that's why I have a laundry problem. Maybe it's a part of myself that I'm self-conscious about. I used to have a friend who was very beautiful and she always wore beautiful things and she always smelled nice. Of course, this person doesn't have kids and so she doesn't know what it's like to have the very fabrics of your life, the downy softness, be completely thwarted on the daily with spit up and stains and grease stains, all of it, you know, fingerprint stains. But regardless, it was something that mattered to her. And in that way, she embodied Venus in a way that was so appealing to me. But how awful of me that instead I turned it into a darkness inside of myself. That something that I viewed and respected in someone else became something that I hated and reviled in myself. And we all do that. We all write these stories about ourselves. And so that is what all of this retrograde energy is about. Rewriting it. Because something as simple as a clothing pile in my corner can truly be speaking to a deep insecurity inside of myself. I'm not beautiful. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve good clothes. And so I dirtbag my clothes in the corner. Do you see what I'm doing? It's the most ridiculous thing, and it's very personal to me. Maybe for you, the dishes is around cooking and, oh, I never make enough home-cooked meals. They're never nutritious enough. It never goes far enough. And so then the dishes pile because it is this subconscious, pressure point. It is a subconscious thing that you resist. So these are like the little hints that are going to be popping up. And as Mercury retrograde comes into play at the end of the week to make us slow down, to make plans not work out, to make things fall through, we must look at the deeper reasons, the whys behind it all. And instead of going into a victim place, instead of getting impatient, instead of getting frustrated, which, listen, I'll probably do all of those things in this cycle, but rather, if we can, find moments of bringing our subconscious to the conscious, of moments of asking yourself, why do I hate the laundry? Why do I hate that this is taking so long? Why is this computer system crashing triggering me on such a deep level? Why can't I get in touch with this person? What's the core need that pops up when we get frustrated or angry or in our own way? What is the mechanism? And there are a lot of hints this next month. There are a lot of indicators that point to our own id complexes. So just be curious, be open and honest with yourself. Do some tapping, release some anxiety and stress inside yourself and inside your body, and allow the answers to come without judgment. Allow yourself the gift this month of neutrality. That instead of it having to matter so much, instead of you having to push so hard, what if when you notice yourself pushing, you pull back? What if when you notice yourself tensing, you relax and surrender? That is what the vibes are for this. And tapping in to the truer lessons that you're learning right now with this Saturn Cazimi that wants to show us where it is we get to go next, or at least give us some hints. And I like hints. Ooh, so the card I pulled is regeneration. Regeneration, that sometimes we got to burn it all to the ground, bitches. Sometimes we need to have our cats pee in our clothing pile. Yes, true story has happened to me, where we have to throw out half our clothes to be able to understand what the deal is. So remember that whatever is dying inside of you, something else is regenerating also inside of you, that we are all our own phoenixes. We all rise again, and you have a 100% reconciliation goal, and that you have gotten over what you have had to push through 100% of the time because you're still here. We have a 100% success rate because we are all still here. Now, what are we going to do with it? What are we going to regenerate? What's worth regenerating in the first place? Big vibes, guys. Big vibes. Good luck with it. Good luck to me. Good luck to you. May you like, share, comment. I love to engage with you all. I love to feel a part of it all with all of you. And I would love to get my podcast out there. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being in space with me. And I will see you next week.